Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Tonight, there are things happening in our country and around the globe that you need to know about. But I'm going to bet that you haven't heard a single one mentioned in the mainstream media. For instance, did you know that 87 senators and over 300 House members have signed this letter to the President of the United States, standing up for Israel, the blockade of Gaza, and the actions of the Israeli commandos who landed on their ships on the ships in an attempt to break the blockade just a few weeks ago. I find this astounding. 87 senators out of 100. Why haven't you heard about this? How about this one? Did you know that the House yesterday inserted a last-minute tweak into their version of the financial reform bill that could force private banking institutions, your bank, to pay for and clean up the mess that is Fannie and Freddie? Oh, by the way, that's just another way of saying that you're going to pay for it. You know, you'll pay for the cleanup and the mess yourself. Your bank won't. Your bank will pass all those costs gladly right to you. What about the provision to help small businesses bill? I love this one. It passed the House just last week. This would allow all but the top 100 largest banks to pretend that they haven't made any of those bad subprime loans. So that way they can go out and lend more money. Excuse me? This bill would allow almost 8,000 banks to spread out accounting of those bad debts for 6 to 10 years. Just pretend that, no, we've got more assets than it really looks like. Really, we do. No, you don't. By the way, this is exactly what happened during the 1980s in the savings and loan collapse, and again with the Japanese bank collapse, which they still haven't pulled out of from the 1990s. History tells us this doesn't work. Why are we doing it, and why don't you know about it? It's amazing what happens when you pretend a boo-boo really isn't there. What happens usually is it festers, it becomes infected, and then it kills you. Why are we doing this? Why aren't we having these conversations? Meantime, the president's buddy George Soros said yesterday that Germany's plan to actually address its debt instead of continuing to spend like a drunken sailor and pretend that nothing's wrong was, and I quote, pushing its neighbors into deflation, threatening a long phase of stagnation. Wait, it gets better. And lead to nationalism, social unrest, and xenophobia, and endangering democracy. Oh. Thank you, George. Here's my fear, America, and I hope I'm wrong. But my fear is that we're about to be introduced to a new phase of this economic crisis that will be presented as an emergency requiring our immediate attention in one form or another, a massive and maybe fatal government bailout that will lead to the ruination of our country. You have to do your own homework. You have to figure these things out for yourself, because no one in the media is really helping. I have much more on these stories, and you can get it all at glennbeck.com. But the risks are so big. Why is the media not telling you these stories? You know what they're doing this weekend? They're busy prepping network specials on the anniversary of Michael Jackson's death. This Friday, ABC, NBC, and CNN will all have special coverage commemorating the one-year anniversary of Michael Jackson's passing. 4 hours of network specialized coverage on Michael Jackson. You know what we'll be doing tomorrow night? Relearning our history of our black founders, trying to restore real history. It explains so much, including why we are repeating the same mistakes of the past. We don't know any better. We don't know. We can tell you how many albums Michael Jackson sold. We can tell you the name of his monkey. But we can't tell you about our own history. It's obvious we aren't paying attention to history anymore because the Communist Party had their annual convention broadcast on C-SPAN. Think about that. Half a century ago, we were rooting out communists as traitors to our Constitution and our country. Now, we're putting them on C-SPAN, and nobody says a word. How did we get here? And how do we get out? Well, we have to start listening to warnings. We've been warned before, but we didn't listen. Former Secretary of Agriculture in the 1960s, Ezra Taft Benson, warned about what was coming in a 1966 speech. He talked about a meeting that he had had with Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev. Listen.
As we talked face to face, he indicated that my grandchildren would live under communism. After assuring him that I expected to do all in my power to assure that his and all other grandchildren will live under freedom, he arrogantly declared in substance, "You Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright. But we'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism until you'll finally wake up and find you already have communism. We won't have to fight you. We'll so weaken your economy until you fall like overripe fruit into our hands."
I want you to look at something. These are the 1963 communist goals, okay? In 1963, I want to give you just a few of them. You tell me if they've failed. Communist goals of 1963 from the Communist Party USA, just a few of them. Develop the illusion that disarmament of the U.S. would be a demonstration of moral strength. Isn't that what we're doing right now with our nuclear weapons? Number 15, capture one or both of the political parties. Isn't that what Michael Moore did in the presidential box? Get control of the schools and use them as transition belts for socialism and communist propaganda. Number 18, gain control of all student newspapers. 19, use student riots to foment public protest against programs which are under communist attack. Have you been watching this show? Number 20, infiltrate the press. Get control of book review assignments. Oh, here's to see the reviews on my books. Editorial writing, policy-making decisions. 21, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and movies. 27, infiltrate the churches and replace revealed religion with social religion. 1963 communist goals. Revealed religion replaced with social religion. 28, no prayer in schools because it violates separation of church and state. Do you know that in New Haven, they just took out in their diplomas the Year of Our Lord? They just did it because it's offensive. 29, discredit the Constitution by calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, a hindrance to cooperation between nations on a worldwide basis. That's about to happen, that last part. Number 30, discredit the American founding fathers. Please, what are we doing on this show? Trying to restore them. 36, infiltrate and gain control of more unions. 37, infiltrate and gain control of big businesses. What do you think the Tides Foundation is? Number 40, discredit the family as an institution. Encourage promiscuity and easy divorce. Let me ask you a question. These are the goals from 1963. This is 1791. Which one? Which one, America? It's a charter of negative liberties, says our president. Which one? You must choose.